Lawmakers are now starting to make it more and more known that they want to see changes to Social Security, and they want those changes to happen immediately. They're not talking about the cost of living adjustment and seeing a small 2.6, 2.7% increase for 2026. Yes, this is going to happen. We know it's going to happen. That's not the change that they want to see. They want to see substantial change. They want to see more money going into the pockets of the American people. And with that said, I talked to a lawmaker's aide, and this person told me one thing: to prepare, because small changes are going to happen over the next several years. It's not going to be a massive change. We're not going to see some massive Social Security reform. What's going to happen is we are going to see small changes, incremental changes to make Social Security better. Look at this right here, though. This is one of the things that the Trump administration is saying is going to make Social Security better. It says Social Security will change forever on September 30th. Why? Well, Social Security is going to move away from the paper check. They're going to use all digital payments. Right there. That's going to save Social Security a lot of money. Okay? It's going to save them millions of dollars every single year. That is just one small change. Small. That is what we're seeing. Okay? Don't think for a second that we are going to see some massive bill, because that, based off what we're hearing from Congress, isn't going to happen. Democrats and Republicans are not going to jump into this together and save Social Security. It's going to be one group or the other based off what we're hearing. But look at this right here. I want to read you this. This came out a couple weeks ago. It says the 90th anniversary of the Social Security Act. Now, back on August 14, 1935, President Franklin D. Roosevelt signed into law the Social Security Act, a monumental legislative achievement that protects our seniors, uplifts our citizens, and sustains the livelihoods of hardworking Americans who devoted their professions to bettering our country. On the 90th anniversary of the establishment of this historic program, I recommit to always defending Social Security, rewarding the men and women who make our country prosperous, and taking care of our own workers, families, seniors, and citizens first. Yeah, President Trump, he is pretty much making it his responsibility to protect Social Security. Now, here's what he's doing. And keep in mind, in the One Big Beautiful Bill, we saw that the Trump administration approved a $6,000 increase to your standard deduction for seniors over the age of 65. That's one thing that he's done to put more money into Americans' pockets. Unfortunately, it doesn't help every single senior or person on Social Security. But this is what he's planned to do. It says, to further strengthen Social Security, my administration is aggressively rooting out all fraud, waste, and abuse that rob our federal programs of resources, including stopping payments to the deceased and eliminating benefits for those that do not legally qualify. That's just one of the things that the Trump administration says they're doing. And if you are currently collecting benefits, keep this in mind, that the Trump administration feels that if they get rid of all the fraud, waste, and abuse, there would be more money there to ensure that Social Security can continue to operate without issues. We will see more money go into the trust fund. Again, if we can put more money into Social Security's trust fund, as opposed to the federal government putting it into the administration to hope to get it run a little bit smoother, that's the goal based off what we're hearing. It says these measures will save American taxpayers billions of dollars every year and ensure that future generations receive the benefits they spent their lives paying into. At the same time, I'm making the Social Security Administration more efficient, more responsive, and more effective than ever before, reducing wait times and delivering the payments the American people worked hard to earn. I'm also proudly restoring stronger border security policies to ensure that Medicare and Social Security are preserved for the citizens who paid into them, not abused by illegal aliens who who not have the rights to be here. Okay. Here's the reason why I bring all that up. One of which is this right here. This is actually from today. It says Social Security praises its new chatbot. However, ex-officials say it was tested but shelved under then President Joe Biden. Well, I want to read a little bit of this to you. It says right here, John McGing couldn't reach a human. That might be business as usual in the economy, but it wasn't business. He had called the Social Security Administration, where the questions often aren't generic and the callers tend to be older, disabled, and otherwise vulnerable Americans. McGing called on behalf of his son, had an in-the-weeds question, had the how to prevent overpayments that the federal government might later claw back. His call was intercepted by an artificial intelligence-powered chatbot. No matter what he said, the bot parroted canned answers to generic questions, not his obscure query. Okay. That is something, we've seen this before, okay? Where people have called into certain agencies, whether it's the Social Security Administration, called into the IRS, whatever it may be, and yet they're just going through a loop. They can't get out of it, and they don't know what to do and what to say. We've seen that before, so it's nothing new. The Social Security Administration is trying to get away from people coming into their office, standing in a line for hours upon hours just to speak to somebody about one simple question. They want you to call. They want you to ask the question through their online portal. That's what they want. And eventually, this is going to work. It's going to save millions or potentially billions of dollars every single year, and things will be great. In the meantime, there's going to be difficulties. That's what we're experiencing today. With that said, here's the other thing I want to bring to your attention. Social Security recipients, in most cases, are on Medicare. And unfortunately, Medicare in 2026 is going to go up substantially. We're actually going to see it, just the Medicare Part B, for instance, it's going to go up to about $106.50. That right there is more than an 11% increase from 2025 to 2026. And I bring that to your attention because we are expecting Social Security recipients are going to get a cost of living adjustment of 2.7%. But yet Medicare Part B is going to go up by, I think, like 11.6%. That's a substantial increase. Okay? I want to show you this, though. It says, this is from Newsweek. It says, map shows 6 states testing new Medicare model in 2026. What's interesting about this, though, these were not states that chose to be in the testing. Okay? They were handpicked. It says at the end of June, the CMS announced the new model, which came as part of the agency's bid to protect both Medicare beneficiaries and federal taxpayers from unnecessary services, fraud, waste, and abuse. It said the states selected, and yes, that is selected, not that opted in, they were selected. It says the new states include New Jersey, Ohio, Oklahoma, Texas, Arizona, and Washington. Now, I want to read you what this change is because, again, these are the states that are starting to implement this. Okay? Look at this right here. It says the new model is being brought in to reduce wasteful care, including services that provide little to no clinical benefit, which it added not only increases costs but also puts patients at risk. The agency reported that waste in healthcare represented up to 25% of healthcare spending in the U.S., with estimates that around $5.8 billion in Medicare spending in 2022 was spent on services with minimal benefit. Okay, 25% of healthcare spending, okay, is considered wasteful. $5.8 billion in 2022. Now, why is this important? Well, it's important for a couple reasons. Number one, Medicare Part B going up to over $200 a month. That's substantial. Okay? It's going to be tough for some people to afford it, but they can't afford to live without it. So, if we can bring the costs down for Medicare, that means your monthly payment comes down as well. Here's where things get interesting, and again, trying to tie it to Social Security. If this works for Medicare, where we can get rid of the wasteful fraud, the abuse, right? The wasteful spending, the same can apply to Social Security based off what we are hearing. The same thing can apply to Social Security. If it does, the good thing about this is that not only would more people receive greater benefits, or they could, but Social Security wouldn't become insolvent. Not as soon as 2033. That's the big thing. Okay? Now, I know a lot of people are going to question, well, how is this going to happen? When are we going to see these changes? How can we implement these changes without hurting certain people? Unfortunately, we can't. That's the issue. If you're talking about providing benefits to 70 plus million people every single month and trying to make some cuts or some changes to only provide the benefits to those that have actually paid in, that's the problem. There's not a way to do it without hurting certain individuals and families. So, as we get more information on this, I promise I'll bring you all the latest news and updates. But as of today, that's what we know. Okay? A certain lawmaker's aide has said that it's going to be incremental changes. Small changes over the next few years is what we're going to see that's going to improve Social Security. So, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.